Let's be real for a second. You've spent decades sacrificing, putting everyone else first, and doing everything in your power to make sure your kids had the best life possible. And now? Now you're still running around, bending over backward, and living by their schedules, their needs, their expectations. But here's the truth. You are not here just to serve them forever. At some point, you have to stop being the unpaid assistant in their lives and start taking control of your own. This isn't selfish, it's necessary. Because life doesn't end when your kids grow up. It's time to shift the focus back to you. Today, we're going to talk about why it's not only okay, but absolutely essential to stop feeling guilty about prioritizing yourself. Because if you don't start living for yourself now, when will you? When you became a parent, your entire world shifted. Suddenly, it wasn't just about you anymore. Your thoughts, decisions, and even your identity started revolving around your children. Every single thing you did, from the job you worked to the food you bought, was guided by what was best for them. And that's natural. It's what good parents do. They sacrifice. They put their children first. And they devote years, sometimes decades, to making sure their kids have everything they need to succeed. But somewhere along the way, an unspoken belief settles in that being a parent means your personal wants, dreams, and needs take a permanent backseat. That your life, in a way, has ended as an individual. And your only role now is to serve, support, and assist your children indefinitely. This belief is so deeply ingrained that many parents, especially as they age, continue living as if their own desires no longer matter. Even after their kids are grown, independent, and capable, they remain in this cycle of servitude, cooking, cleaning, solving problems, being available at all times, and making sure their children's lives run smoothly. At first, it doesn't seem like a problem. After all, parents love their kids. They want to help, they want to be needed, and they want to stay connected. But over time, this constant self-sacrifice becomes a trap. It starts to feel less like love and more like an obligation. Instead of embracing the freedom that comes with having raised independent adults, many parents continue acting as if they are still responsible for everything, still putting their children's needs above their own. The result? They never fully step into the next phase of their life. They never explore who they are outside of being a parent. The truth is, your life didn't end when you had children. It simply evolved. And just as your role shifted when your kids were younger, it's supposed to shift again when they grow up. You were never meant to spend your entire existence in the same role forever. Parenthood is one chapter of your life, but it's not the entire book. There is so much more ahead of you if you allow yourself to embrace it. One of the biggest reasons parents struggle with this transition is guilt. The idea of stepping back, of saying no when their children ask for something, or of focusing on their own happiness feels selfish. But here's the hard truth. It's not selfish. It's necessary. Your children don't need you to be their full-time caretaker anymore. They need you to be an example of how to live a fulfilling life at every stage. They need to see you thriving, pursuing your interests, and enjoying your own journey. That's what will truly inspire them. Think about it. If you spend your entire life serving your children, what message does that send? That your happiness doesn't matter? That life after raising kids is just about waiting around for them to need you? That's not a lesson you want to pass down. Instead, show them that life is about continuous growth, that dreams don't expire, that happiness isn't something you sacrifice indefinitely for others, but something you are allowed to prioritize. So, what does stepping into this new phase look like? It means allowing yourself to rediscover your passions. It means saying yes to opportunities that excite you instead of only considering how they impact your kids. It means making decisions based on what you want, not just what's convenient for others. Maybe it's finally taking that trip you always put off, starting a hobby you never had time for, or even just setting boundaries so you're not constantly at your children's beck and call. Some parents fear that by pulling back, they will lose their connection with their kids. But the truth is, real relationships aren't built on dependency. They are built on mutual respect and love. Your children don't need you to do everything for them. They need to see you living fully so they can do the same. By embracing your own life, you actually create a healthier, more balanced relationship with them. It's time to break the cycle of feeling like your existence is tied to serving your children. You gave them everything they needed to build their own lives. Now it's time for you to do the same for yourself. Because the best way to honor the life you've built isn't by continuing to live in service to others, it's by finally living for you. Guilt is one of the most powerful emotions, and for parents, it can be completely overwhelming. It sneaks in quietly and then takes over, making you second guess every decision, every boundary, and every moment you choose to prioritize yourself. From the moment you became a parent, guilt has been there, whispering that you should always do more, give more, and be more for your children. And even now, as they have grown into independent adults, that guilt still lingers, making it incredibly difficult to shift the focus back to yourself. The idea that putting yourself first is selfish has been ingrained in many parents for years. Society often reinforces the notion that good parents, especially mothers, should be selfless, constantly available, and willing to sacrifice everything for their children. This expectation doesn't magically disappear when kids grow up. Instead, it turns into a pattern where parents continue putting their children's needs above their own, even when there is no real necessity to do so. You might feel guilty if you say no to a request, guilty if you don't check in constantly, guilty if you enjoy something for yourself that doesn't involve them. But here's the reality. Guilt is not an accurate measure of whether you're doing the right thing. It's just an emotion, often rooted in years of habit and societal conditioning. It makes you believe that taking care of yourself means neglecting others, but that's simply not true. Your children do not need you to feel guilty every time you prioritize your own happiness. In fact, by constantly giving in to guilt, you are not helping them. You are holding yourself back from truly living. Guilt often manifests in small, seemingly harmless ways. Maybe you hesitate before making plans that don't involve your children because you worry they might need you. Perhaps you agree to help with things that you know they are fully capable of handling on their own because saying no makes you uncomfortable. Or maybe you still feel obligated to be their emotional support system at all times, even when it drains you. Over time, these small moments add up. And before you know it, guilt is dictating how you live your life. One of the most damaging effects of guilt is that it creates a cycle of unnecessary obligation. When you constantly feel guilty, you develop a habit of overextending yourself. You say yes when you don't really want to. You take on responsibilities that aren't yours to carry. You put your own goals and dreams on hold because it feels wrong to pursue them when your children might still need you. But the truth is, they don't need you in the way they once did. They need to see you as a whole person, not just as someone who exists to serve them. Letting go of guilt starts with recognizing that your role as a parent has changed. Your children are adults now, and that means your relationship with them should evolve as well. You are no longer responsible for their daily lives in the same way you once were. You have done your job. You raised them, guided them, and gave them the tools they need to navigate the world. Now, your job is to live your own life without constantly feeling weighed down by unnecessary guilt. One way to break free from guilt is to remind yourself of this simple truth. Your happiness is just as important as anyone else's. You are not a bad parent for wanting a life outside of your children. You are not neglecting them by choosing to focus on yourself. In fact, by taking care of yourself, you are setting a powerful example for them. You are showing them that life doesn't stop when your children grow up, that there is still so much to explore, experience, and enjoy. It's also important to set boundaries and recognize when guilt is leading you to overcommit. The next time you feel obligated to do something for your children that you don't truly want to do, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, am I doing this because I genuinely want to, or am I doing it out of guilt? If the answer is guilt, then it's time to reconsider. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to prioritize your own needs. And most importantly, you are allowed to live without carrying the constant burden of guilt. It's also important to set boundaries and recognize when guilt is leading you to overcommit. The next time you feel obligated to do something for your children that you don't truly want to do, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, am I doing this because I genuinely want to, or am I doing it out of guilt? If the answer is guilt, then it's time to reconsider. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to prioritize your own needs. And most importantly, you are allowed to live without carrying the constant burden of guilt. It's also important to set boundaries and recognize when guilt is leading you to overcommit. The next time you feel obligated to do something for your children that you don't truly want to do, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, am I doing this because I genuinely want to, or am I doing it out of guilt? If the answer is guilt, then it's time to reconsider. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to prioritize your own needs. And most importantly, it's also important to set boundaries and recognize when guilt is leading you to overcommit. The next time you feel obligated to do something for your children that you don't truly want to do, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, am I doing this? It's also important to set boundaries and recognize when guilt is leading you to overcommit. The next time you feel obligated to do something for your children that you don't truly want to do, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, am I doing this because I genuinely want to, or am I doing it out of guilt? If the answer is guilt, then it's time to reconsider. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to prioritize your own needs. And most importantly, you are allowed to live without carrying the... It's also important to set boundaries and recognize when guilt is leading you to overcommit. The next time you feel obligated to do something for... It's also important to set boundaries and recognize when guilt is leading you to commit. The next time you feel obligated to do something for your children that you don't truly want to do, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, am I doing this because I genuinely want to, or am I doing it out of guilt? If the answer is guilt, then it's time to reconsider. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to prioritize your own needs. And most importantly, you are allowed to live without carrying the constant burden of guilt. It's also important. The problem with waiting for permission is that time doesn't stop. Every year that passes is another year you could have spent doing the things that make you happy, exploring new opportunities, or simply enjoying life on your own terms. But when you keep putting yourself on hold, you lose out on experiences that could bring you joy, fulfillment, and a renewed sense of purpose. The idea that you need to wait for the right time, or for someone to tell you it's okay to focus on yourself, is just an excuse, one that keeps you trapped in a cycle of endless giving with nothing left for yourself. One of the biggest reasons parents hesitate to prioritize themselves is the fear of what others might think. You might worry that your children will see you as selfish if you start setting boundaries or focusing on your own happiness. You might fear that they'll feel abandoned, or that your role in their lives will change in a way you're not comfortable with. But consider this. Do you really want to live the rest of your life based on what other people expect of you? Do you want to look back years from now and realize you never truly lived for yourself because you were too afraid of how it would be perceived? The people who truly love you, your children included, don't want you to live a life of endless sacrifice. They don't need you to be at their beck and call every second of the day. They need to see you as a person, not just a parent. They need to see that life doesn't stop after raising kids, that happiness isn't something you give up forever, and that prioritizing yourself is not a betrayal, it's an act of self-respect. When you step into your own life, you're teaching them a valuable lesson, that taking care of yourself is just as important as taking care of others. Making this shift doesn't mean you stop loving or supporting your children. It doesn't mean you cut them off or refuse to help when they genuinely need it. What it does mean is that you stop sacrificing yourself unnecessarily. It means you start making decisions based on what you want rather than out of obligation. It means you stop apologizing for choosing yourself. So what does it actually look like to stop waiting for permission? It starts with small but significant changes. It's about saying yes to things that excite you, even if they have nothing to do with your children. It's about setting boundaries and realizing that you don't have to be available 24/7. It's about taking that trip you always dreamed of, starting that project you never had time for, or simply allowing yourself to relax without feeling guilty. It's about recognizing that you have every right to live a full, rich, and meaningful life outside of being a parent. The only person who can make that happen is you. You don't need permission from your children, from society, or from anyone else. You have already given so much. Now it's time to give something to yourself. The longer you wait, the more you delay the life that's waiting for you. So stop waiting. Stop hesitating. Stop wondering if it's okay to finally put yourself first. It is. Your life is yours to live, and you don't need anyone's approval to start living it. For years, your identity has been deeply tied to being a parent. It shaped your daily routine, your priorities, and even how you saw yourself. From the moment your children were born, your purpose became clear: to nurture, guide, and support them in every way possible. And you did exactly that. You gave them your time, your energy, your love, and sometimes even parts of yourself that you didn't realize you were sacrificing. But now that they are grown and independent, you find yourself in unfamiliar territory. Who are you when you are no longer needed in the same way? This is one of the hardest transitions for parents. The role that once gave you a clear sense of purpose is no longer the center of your world, and that can feel unsettling. It's not that you aren't still a parent, you always will be, but the intensity of that role has changed. Your children are no longer the small, helpless individuals who depended on you for everything. They are capable adults with their own lives, and as much as you love them, your relationship with them has evolved. The question now is, what do you do with this new phase of life? Many parents struggle with this because they never allowed themselves to fully explore their own identity outside of raising children. They put their personal dreams and aspirations on hold for years, sometimes decades, thinking that there would be time for them later. But when later finally arrives, it can be difficult to know where to start. The absence of the constant responsibility of parenting can feel like a loss, almost like grieving. It's natural to feel a sense of emptiness. But this is not the end, it's a new beginning. Redefining your purpose doesn't mean abandoning your past. It means taking everything you've learned, everything you've experienced, and using it to build something new for yourself. It means embracing the fact that you are not just a parent. You are an individual with passions, dreams, and untapped potential that deserve attention. There is life beyond being a caregiver, and it's waiting for you to claim it. One of the first steps in this process is allowing yourself to dream again. Think back to the things you once wanted before parenting took center stage. What were the hobbies, interests, or goals that you set aside? Maybe you loved painting, writing, traveling, or learning new things. Maybe you always wanted to start a business, volunteer for a cause you care about, or simply have the time to enjoy your days without a strict schedule. These desires didn't disappear just because you became a parent. They were simply put on hold. Now is the time to bring them back. It's easy to feel like it's too late to start something new, but that's just a lie that keeps people stuck. There is no expiration date on self-discovery. Some of the most fulfilled people in the world found their true purpose later in life, not because they had everything figured out, but because they were willing to explore new possibilities. The same is true for you. You don't have to know exactly what your next step is. You just have to be open to finding it. Another important shift in redefining your purpose is giving yourself permission to prioritize joy. Parenting often requires so much responsibility that many parents forget how to simply enjoy themselves. Fun, excitement, and personal fulfillment take a backseat to obligations. But now you have the chance to experience life differently. You can say yes to things that make you happy without feeling guilty. You can embrace adventure, spontaneity, and new challenges without constantly worrying about how they affect your children. Some parents hesitate to do this because they feel like their children still need them. While it's true that family bonds remain strong, your children no longer need you in the same way they once did. They need to see you thriving, not just surviving. They need to see that life after raising kids is not about waiting for the next phone call or constantly trying to be useful. By embracing your own journey, you are showing them what a full, well-rounded life looks like. It's also important to surround yourself with people who support your growth. Find communities, friends, or mentors who encourage you to pursue your own happiness. Being around like-minded individuals who are also embracing this stage of life can be incredibly motivating, whether it's joining a group, attending classes, or even just spending time with people who uplift you. Surrounding yourself with positive influences will make this transition easier. Finally, redefining your purpose requires self-compassion. It's okay if you don't have all the answers right away. It's okay if you feel lost at times. But the most important thing is that you don't allow uncertainty to keep you stuck. Taking even small steps towards something new is better than staying in the same place out of fear. Spent years helping others grow. Now it's your turn. Your life is not over just because your children no longer depend on you in the same way. It's a new chapter, and you get to write it however you choose. Let go of the idea that your only purpose was to serve others. You are more than a parent. You are a person with dreams, passions, and the right to live a life that excites you. Now is the time to embrace it. Life is meant to be lived fully at every stage, yet so many parents find themselves trapped in a routine that no longer serves them once their children have grown. The habits of constant caretaking, self-sacrifice, and putting others first become so deeply ingrained that when the need for those things lessens, they don't know what to do with themselves. They continue living the same way, following the same patterns, waiting for their children to need them again, instead of stepping into their own lives with excitement and purpose. But here's the truth. This phase of life is not meant to be a waiting game. It's meant to be a time of rediscovery, adventure, and personal fulfillment. Too many people approach aging with a mindset of slowing down, of accepting limitations that don't really exist. They believe that because they have spent decades serving their family, they are now supposed to sit back, fade into the background, and simply be content with the memories of their past. But this is a lie that keeps people from truly living. Life does not have to shrink just because your role in the family has changed. If anything, this is your opportunity to expand it, to embrace new experiences with the freedom you never had before. The biggest shift that needs to happen is in how you see yourself. You are not just someone's parent, someone's grandparent, or someone who exists to be there for others. You are still you, a person with passions, interests, and the ability to shape the years ahead into something extraordinary. The same excitement and energy that you once poured into your children's futures can now be redirected toward your own life. The only thing stopping you is the belief that you shouldn't. There are endless possibilities waiting for you if you are willing to step outside of your comfort zone. Think about the things you've always wanted to do but never had time for. Maybe it's traveling to new places, learning a new skill, starting a passion project, or making new connections. Maybe it's as simple as waking up every day with a sense of excitement instead of routine obligation. The key is to stop waiting for life to happen to you and start making it happen for yourself. One of the biggest mistakes people make as they age is assuming that their best years are behind them. They settle into patterns of predictability because they think that's what aging is supposed to look like. But that is not true unless you allow it to be. Some of the happiest, most fulfilled people in the world discovered their greatest passions later in life because they refused to accept that their time for adventure was over. They made the choice to embrace new experiences rather than staying stuck in old routines. Fear often holds people back from truly living. Fear of looking foolish, fear of stepping into something unfamiliar, or fear of being judged. But the reality is, the only thing more painful than taking a risk is looking back years from now and realizing you let fear keep you from truly experiencing life. The comfort of the familiar may feel safe, but it can also become a prison if you never push beyond it. Another common trap is the idea that it's too late to change, that if you haven't done something by now, then it's not meant for you. But this is nothing more than an excuse to stay in the same place. It is never too late to try something new, to reinvent yourself, or to find happiness in a different way. Life is not a straight path. It is a series of evolving experiences. And as long as you are still here, there is still time to create the life you want. Stepping into this new phase of life also means surrounding yourself with the right people. It's easy to fall into isolation when your children no longer depend on you daily. But that doesn't mean your social world has to shrink. Or seek out connections with people who inspire you, who encourage you to embrace life rather than withdraw from it. Whether it's making new friends, joining a community, or even reconnecting with old passions, the energy you surround yourself with will shape your outlook on the years ahead. The truth is, the best way to honor the life you've lived is to keep living it fully. You have spent years giving to others, and now it's time to give to yourself. Not just in small, hesitant ways, but in bold, unapologetic ones. Stop waiting for permission, stop feeling guilty, and stop letting outdated beliefs about aging hold you back. The only thing standing between you and a life of excitement, purpose, and joy is the willingness to go after it. You are not done yet. You are not meant to spend these years in the background of other people's lives. You are meant to step forward, to embrace new opportunities, and to show yourself and the world that you still have so much more to experience. The question is not whether life has more to offer you. It's whether you are ready to claim it. You have spent years, decades even, giving, sacrificing, and putting others first. You have poured your energy, love, and time into raising your children, ensuring their success, and being there for them at every step. And that was beautiful. That was meaningful. But now a new chapter is calling, a chapter where you stop living only for others and start living for yourself. This is not about abandoning your family or turning away from the love you have for them. It's about finally realizing that your life is just as important as theirs. It's about embracing the freedom you have earned, exploring the passions you put on hold, and allowing yourself to experience joy without guilt. It's about stepping out of the background and into the fullness of who you are. Not just as a parent, but as a person with dreams, desires, and untapped potential. No one is coming to give you permission to live. No one is going to tell you it's time to prioritize yourself. That decision has to come from you. So stop waiting. Stop hesitating. Stop believing the lie that your best years are behind you. They're not. They're right in front of you, waiting to be claimed. The world has so much left for you to experience. Adventure, growth, passion, and joy. These things don't have an age limit. They don't expire just because your children no longer depend on you the way they once did. The only question is, will you choose to embrace them? You've given so much to others. Now it's time to give something to yourself. Step into this phase of life boldly, unapologetically, and without regret. Because you deserve it. Because you have always deserved it. And because the best way to honor everything you've done in the past is to keep moving forward into a future that excites you. Your life is yours to live. So go live it.